the coach. The team. The Bob Knight Show is brought to you by Indiana Bell, an Ameritech company, your link to a better life. By Federated Insurance, Federated writes it right. By INB Banking Centers, we're working for you. By Coca-Cola and your local Coca-Cola bottlers. And by Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers.
Welcome once again to the Bob Knight Show.
For the third time, by the way. Chuck's question is an extremely good one, and my answers the first two times have been unprintable, and this time we think the third time will be the charm, and I want Chuck to come back with the exact same question because it's a very good one.
Okay. Well, my question started out prefaced a little bit by placing myself in your position yesterday as a coach. And if I had been coaching Indiana's team yesterday, I would have been elated with the play both offensively and defensively of the team in the first half, and I would have been absolutely frustrated with the play in the second half for about 16 minutes.
Well, the problem with our team isn't confined to the second half play yesterday. Mm-hmm. Now, you remember after we played Tulane, I said I went into the locker room at the half, went right around the locker room and told everybody how well they'd played, mm-hmm. and how pleased we were that we'd had a contribution from everybody on the squad, and that we'd gotten everybody into the ball game in the first half. Everybody had made a couple of plays, and it was the exact same thing in this ball game with Cincinnati. I was really pleased at the half because we had made some offensive errors and had screwed things up a few times on offense, but defensively, where it really counts, we were very good. And we only made one or two errors there, and you know, we could have had a better lead than what we did have at the half. But I was very pleased, and particularly pleased because everybody had really contributed, and we hadn't had any one or two players carry us either.
Pretty well balanced.
Exactly. The scoring was, and we had everybody doing a good job at the defensive end. And we talked about this at the half, and we talked about another 20 minutes. And what I had tried to do prior to the game was I put an 80 on the board before the game. And sometimes I do this. We've got 80 minutes to play. Cincinnati, St. John's. You know, we've scheduled two nationally known teams. Played them both away last year, have them both coming in here to play this year, right before Christmas. Let's have 80 minutes of really good basketball to take us into Christmas and into our tournament up in Indianapolis. And so I talked about, we've already put away a good 20 minutes at the half. And then we went into what we wanted to do in the second half and to add 20 to it. And I really didn't like the atmosphere in the locker room at the half. I didn't like the way we went out on the floor. I didn't like anything about what we did in the second half. I thought that in the second half we really only had two players that were really consciously trying to do what we wanted to do. Chris Reynolds and Patrick. I thought they were the only two that we had that really tried to get done what we wanted done. And I make a little addition to that. I do think that Bailey's effort and his awareness was improved.
Yes.
In this game, going on the right track. It had been all week in practice, and it carried over into his play in the Cincinnati game. We had really good inside defense in the first half, and absolutely terrible inside defense in the second half. Not on the people they're guarding, but on the drives. And we gave up so much out on the perimeter. It was almost like we played defense in the second half, and we intensely played defense in the first half. Your question is such a good one because I think it goes right to the heart of this team and what the future for this team is. It has not been a team. It hasn't been last year. It hasn't been this year. It may never be a team that sustains its concentration for 40 minutes. And if it isn't, it'll never reach the potential of its abilities. Now, what our role as coaches in that is, you know, we've done a lot of things and we haven't hit the right button yet. Maybe there's something that we don't know about or we haven't done. I don't know what it is. But I'm at a point where I don't know. The concentration has to come play after play after play for 40 minutes if a team is going to be good. You know, you can't concentrate part of the time. You can't, with that three-point shot the way it is, if you lose 10 points of your lead in the first 10 minutes of the second half, then you got a chance to get beat in a ball game with a 20-point halftime lead. And our players have just, I think that has been a great weakness with this team. I think it's been the greatest weakness of any team I've ever had that's a pretty good basketball team. Other teams have been able to just put a team away, this team hasn't.
Yeah.
And this team lets up, with really the exception of Reynolds, I think, and it is really going to prove to be an incredible problem for us. And it's already cost us a ball game. It's cost us some leads in other games, and unless we can somehow get the thing straightened out, it will prevent this team from being as good a team as it can be.
You struck upon an interesting point when you said you didn't like the way the team came out at halftime. Let me tell you my observation on that. I saw them, you know, walk out. Normally there's a run out, and I saw them walk out, and I thought, boy, maybe there was something he didn't like in that first half. I don't know what it was, but they looked very subdued, and they just sort of walked around and picked up a ball and just casually threw it at the basket.
I think that then is a pretty good explanation of how we played the second half.
Yeah.
We've got a 20-point lead. We've played really well. Maybe now the other team is supposed to quit. I mean, maybe they didn't think Cincinnati was going to come on the floor in the second half.
Well, that's not the way to look at competition.
Well, I understand that, but I am not inside their minds.
That's right.
I don't know what happens with thinking. We can pound and pound and pound, but then there has to be a receptiveness to what we're saying, and that's what to me has been so disappointing and so difficult about working with this team. I never really feel great confidence in our being able to go back out and sustain where we are. We just haven't been able to do that.
You see, that's interesting to me too, because I have a feeling that you, if this team were to mature in the areas in which you're wanting, you could have a lot of fun coaching this team. I mean, there's so many little schemes that you could play with this team, and when you have to look at it from the frustration standpoint, what do we do next? That's really got to be trying.
Well, this team has got tremendous offensive potential to start with. I mean, it can score a lot of points. It can score them quickly. There are some things that you just can't do to this team defensively. I mean, this team is quick enough and passes well enough and shoots well enough that you've got to be careful about how you're going to defend this team, or you're just going to create too many opportunities for it, and it's going to get you in a bind. But then our team just isn't able to keep you there. And we get it going, and one guy lets up and another guy lets up. We yesterday took a timeout and talked about inside post defense from a help standpoint on the driver. Diagram what had happened. From that point on, we took 4 different players out for not helping inside. Bang, 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 bang. One player twice for making exactly the same mistake on defense. And that's, as I said, I just don't know where we're going from a season standpoint with the kind of concentration that we have. I mean, I don't think we're going to go very far. I mean, I know that. I know how valuable and how important concentration is to a team, and until we can figure out a way to get it across to these kids, and until they can absorb the importance of concentration, I think this team has got some long games ahead of it.
We'll return with more on the Bob Knight Show in just a moment. Don't go away. It appears to me, Coach, that with the Big Ten season looming up ahead, there are too many critical games lying between the Big Ten season and right now for you to get any evaluation at all on what this squad really is going to do in the conference play. And I have a feeling that what's happening right now is not only a mystery to you, but it's trying to solve a puzzle that just has too many pieces that aren't fitting.
No, there's no mystery involved in this. It's just an absolute lack of concentration.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you can play defense like this, or you can play like this.
Okay.
And there is a tremendous difference in the two. You can play on offense reaching for the ball, or you can play on offense moving to get the ball. And that's the difference between the two teams that we have. I mean, we have actually two different teams. Mm-hmm. We have a team that is capable of playing extremely well, but we also have a team that's capable of just coming out of everything that is necessary to play well. This is not a team that can really go out and just beat you defensively, because they won't stay with it long enough. We've had teams like that. We're really in a bind with Pat Graham not being able to play. Pat Graham, you see, is more than just a really good player. Pat Graham is there, and he's not going to be a 40-minute player because of stamina, but Pat Graham is a heck of a basketball player.
And he uses his brain.
Well, he's a very competitive player, and Pat Graham, beyond being a good player, is there to play when you're not doing a very good job. Pat Graham has a way of making other people play a little better, because if they don't, Pat's going to play and they're not. And we don't have a lot of that. The players, the four kids that we have on the bench, have each of them played very well at times. And as I said, the two kids that played the best in the game yesterday were Pat Knight and Chris Reynolds, both coming off the bench to play. We don't have a whole lot of depth, and we really don't have the kind of offensive depth without Pat that makes somebody, you just take somebody out, you leave them sit there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said for 30 years that the absolute greatest motivator there is the bench. You know, you put a kid on the bench, and when he gets to the point where he's going to do what he has to do, when he can, then he plays. It's just that simple. And we don't have that to the extent that I would like for us to have it. So Pat is a double-edged sword for us. Pat is a starter. I mean, he's as good as our starters. He's an excellent offensive player. Plays hard. So we lose a player, but we also lose an incentive to other people.
I was going to say the spark.
No, we lose the incentive for other people to get their heads in the game and play. And I think that's as big a thing as we're missing with this team right now.
Okay.